Thank you, Carlos. And good morning. It's good to see all of you here this morning. Welcome to All Faiths Unitarian Congregation. My name is Joyce Rame, and I'll be leading our service today. Here, you will find a diverse and inclusive spiritual community where we welcome people of many beliefs. You can bring your whole self, your full identity, your questioning mind, and your expansive heart. At All Faiths, we have more than one way of experiencing the world and understanding the sacred. No matter who you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey, and whomever you love, you are truly welcome here. Is anyone visiting for the first or second time? If so, would you raise your hand? Welcome. We're glad that you're with us. If you'd like to know more about All Faiths, you can see Marcia over by the folding doors after the service. And we're glad that you decided to be with us today. Marcia Bates has a message she'd like to share with us from the search committee. Marcia?
Good morning. Your search committee has begun its work of finding a minister to replace Reverend CJ. We've been in contact with the UUA's transition manager, who has provided guidance about the process. In the last few weeks, we've begun compiling information for the congregational profile that the UUA requires. In our meetings, we, your search committee, have discussed things such as what attributes does All Faiths need in a minister? What ministerial duties are most important to the congregation? What things do our fellow congregants seek when they come to our services? We can't answer these questions without your input. Therefore, the search committee is assembling a survey that you will soon receive via email, or if you have no access to email, the survey will be mailed to you. When you receive it, please complete it and return it promptly so your input can be included in the packet we are preparing for ministers who potentially are interested in serving our congregation. Thank you for your help in this very important endeavor.
Thank you, Marcia. We have a very good search team, and they'll be doing a wonderful job, but they do want your input. And also, this is the time of the year when we start getting out of our pajamas and start coming back to services and getting actively involved in our various programs. And this includes All Faiths house parties for the Lee Interfaith for Empowerment. What we do, we get together every year in small groups and discuss what we'd like to have life address during the coming year. This organization has been one of the most successful I've ever seen. There are about 15 congregations that get together. They select issues to promote with our local government, and they've done a great job. So there's a sign-up sheet in the back room on the bulletin board, and there are 4 different dates where you can attend, probably at All Faiths, and the evening one at 7 might be at Zoom by request. So Marcia Bates, Michelle Gemma, and Barb McFarland will be leading those gatherings. Please take a couple minutes after the service to sign up when you'd like to come. And Regina said that our coffee might be a little late because our coffee pots died, and we're having Dunkin' Donuts bring in coffee. So afterwards, go to the sign-up bulletin board first and be patient, and the coffee will be coming. Other things. Today, we're sharing the plate with Southwest Florida Reset Center. They're dealing with ecologically sustainable agricultural practices, and they're the beneficiary of our very active climate action team. So if you want to donate, you make your check out to Allface and write reset in the lower left corner. And we'll be collecting for them all month. There's no child and youth program today. Unfortunately, Kathy Fanny and her husband both had COVID, and they're recovering, and we expect she'll be back next week. But she wanted to protect our children and not be here today. On Monday at 6 p.m., we have a Rainbow Connection team meeting here at Allface. And on Friday, we have the Dominoes. On Saturday, the choir rehearsals will begin. You don't have to be an opera star to sing in the choir. If you just come and join in and join the choir, they have a lot of fun. And about once a month, they'll be singing for us at Sunday services. So just come on Saturday and join in with the fun. On Sundays, we continue our news talk with Ray Ellis, and he's doing a wonderful job of that. So, and I just want to mention September 17th is World Cleanup Day. On the 17th, next Saturday, you don't have to be part of a group. Just go out in your neighborhood or parks or the beach and take a bag along and a grabber or your hands and wear some gloves and pick up all the trash. The whole world's going to do it, so let's all join in with the World on Cleanup. And now I invite you to rise in body or spirit as we sing together, Enter, Rejoice, and Come In.
Enter, rejoice, and come in. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your ears to the song. Open your ears to the song. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Open your hearts, everyone. Open your hearts, everyone. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in. Don't be afraid of some change. Don't be afraid of some change. Today will be a joyful day. Enter, rejoice, and come in.
Now as Nicole comes forward to light our chalice, please join in reciting the words in your order of service. May we recall the foundations of our spiritual journeys and the later discoveries and enlightenment that enriched our lives. At this time, here at Allface, we believe it's important to share what's happening in our lives. We get to know each other. And part of that process is by sharing joys and sorrows. So at this time, if you have a personal joy or sorrow that you'd like to share, please come forward and briefly share that with us. Annalie?
Good morning. I'm Annalie Hudanik, and I'd like to thank the congregation for their support to Operation Joy. We were able to purchase 12 $50 gift cards, and they were given to deserving families in the Kids Minds Matter program at the Golisano Children's Hospital. So thank you. And don't forget, the holidays are just around the corner.
Thank you, Annalee. She's been leading this Operation Joy project of bringing joy into the lives of children for many years, and we appreciate your leadership. Marcia?
Hi, my name is Marcia Bates, and I want to light a candle. Fran isn't here this morning because Bob's antibiotics have not been working. He got ill again in the night, and she was taking him again this morning to urgent care or the doctor. And we hold Bob in our hearts, but I also want to say let's hold Fran in our hearts and all the other caretakers, Diane Cartwright. We hold Doug in our heart, but also Diane, Pam Falzer's partner, but also Pam in our hearts. So think about the caretakers and the good thoughts that they need from us.
Yes, thank you for sharing that, Marcia. Doug did have aortic aneurysm surgery on Thursday, and the first day or two were pretty rough, but Diane is a little more hopeful now, but it will be a long recovery. I'm going to light this candle in memory of Queen Elizabeth. I had the pleasure of meeting her 25 years ago, and she was very warm and loving and gracious, so we light this, and for our minister who's there for all of those events now in London, his time, sent him an email, and I said, what's next? Sunday, new pulpit, Tuesday, new prime minister, Thursday, new king. His reply was, Saturday, new shoes. And I light this for all of you who have joys and sorrows in your hearts. Today I'm going to ask you to stand for our moment of silence. So if you would all rise as you are able. We're going to close our eyes, take a deep breath, and let us remember all those who lost their lives or loved ones from the attacks on September 11th, 2001, and in the wars that followed, and also those first responders who continue to suffer. May we create a world filled with love and peace. Now let us join together in singing Spirit of Life.
Spirit of life, come unto me.
Our opening words today are by Ralph Waldo Emerson. The whole course of things goes to teach us faith. We need only obey. There is guidance for each of us, and by lowly listening, we shall hear the right word. Place yourself in the center of the stream of power and wisdom which flows into your life. Place yourself in the full center of that flood. Then you are, without effort, impelled to truth, to right, and a perfect contentment. And now I believe.
I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. I believe that somewhere in the darkest night a candle glows. I believe for everyone who goes away, someone will come to show the way. I believe, I believe, I believe above the storm the smallest prayers will still be heard. I believe that someone in the grave somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why. I believe. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why. I believe.
I think we can all believe in that, and I saw Donnelly here singing as he was singing that. Thank you for joining in, Donnelly. Today, Ray Ellis is going to talk about his journey from Catholicism to Unitarianism. So the reading I selected today is by one of my favorite authors, Matthew Fox. He's a former Catholic priest who left the priesthood. I think he might have been pushed out by excommunication for challenging the beliefs of the Catholic Church, which he no longer accepted. He's the author of one of my favorite, I have many books by him, but one of my favorites is Original Blessing, not Original Sin, and that got him in a lot of trouble. So this is by Matthew Fox. Contemporary Italian philosopher and psychologist Vito Mancusi wrote a very rich introduction to my book, Original Blessing, when it was translated into Italian. In Italian, the title was changed to In Principio Era la Gioia, and apologies to Italy for my pronunciation. In the beginning, there was joy, because as the translator explained to me, the word blessing in Italian had come to mean something very ecclesiastical, a priest's blessing or a pope's blessing. So the word had lost its primary meaning. Now, Mancuso talks about the journey from fall redemption religion, that's the original sin, to creation spirituality. And that's what Matthew Fox is promoting today, creation spirituality. This is Mancuso. In putting the good and not the bad at the center, the benediction and not the malediction or the sin, the joy and not the sorrow, it almost automatically brings forth a new pedagogy for which our society, which is so closed and depressed, has an indescribable need. Is our society closed and depressed? There is a mystical spark, a capacity of marvelous origins present in every child. It is this dimension that the pedagogy must cultivate, awakening in each of us the recognition of the primal joy of beginning in the world as an innocent piece of the greater creation. Mancuso uses the term cosmocentric to describe the journey and ride we are making, or sin-centered to describe its antithesis, the journey from the fall redemption to creation spirituality. He also invokes martyr and theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer in this way. Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a German Lutheran pastor and theologian. Bonhoeffer criticized the theology of God as a stopgap when he shed light on the falsity of sin-centered Christianity that insistently reminds us of humanity's weakness in its natural state, for which, if one is not able to lead humanity to consider or to designate his happiness as a disaster, his health as a sickness, his life force as despair, then our theology is good for nothing. He expressed the desire for a theology that knows to speak of God not as a boundary, but as a center, not of weakness, but of strength, not in relation to death and culpability, but of life and of goodness of humanity, the goodness of humanity. Now please rise in body and spirit as we sing together hymn number 10, Immortal Love. The words are printed on your order of service.
Immortal love, forever full, forever
Can you hear me okay? All right. Take a good look. Unless you invite me to a wedding or a funeral, you'll never see me in a tie one ever again. All right. I did it just for you guys. Okay. You're welcome. Since most UUers were not born into our faith, it has become a tradition in many UU congregations for members to stand before the congregation and be given 5 minutes or so to explain what religion they grew up in and how they ended up in a UU church. So when Joyce asked me to give a talk, I thought I could do one of those. Only mine will take a little more than 5 minutes. My Irish Catholic mother and converted to Catholic father felt it was their duty to raise their children as good Catholics. So they sent me and my older sister to the local Catholic school run by the Dominican nuns. My sister did very well in Catholic school. She got all A's, went to college, and then graduate school, and ended up with a PhD in biology. I did not. What I got was a very difficult time learning how to read. In fact, at the time, the word impossible would be more accurate. The nuns knew I wasn't stupid, so they assumed I was lazy. And they knew how to fix that. After 4.5 years of suffering both physical and mental abuse by the nuns and learning very little, my parents took me out of Catholic school and put me into the local public school, where I discovered that going to school did not necessarily involve physical pain and psychological humiliation. My Catholic school experience, however, left me with a definite aversion to anything religious. For many years, I viewed anyone with any sort of religious belief, or belief in God for that matter, to be nothing more than superstitious, no better than someone who keeps a rabbit's foot in his or her pocket for good luck. But at around the age of 30, I began to feel that something important was missing in my life. Still having an aversion to all Western religions, I started to look into the Eastern religions of Buddhism, Hinduism, Sufism, Taoism, yoga. It's a long list. I read a lot of books and learned various forms of meditation, but I found nothing that I would call a track to run on, that I thought would lead me to find that which I felt was missing. Then I stumbled onto a series of books written by someone calling himself Yogi Ramacharaka. There were 12 books in this series, each focusing on a different Eastern religious tradition. These books were nothing short of eye-opening. The other writers of Eastern mysticism wrote as if they were trying to keep something important from you, lest you find out the truth and hurt yourself with it. Not so with Yogi Ramacharaka. He laid out the mysteries in plain English so they could be examined in the light of day. He called this yogi philosophy. I devoured these books, took notes, and put their principles to work for me. God was beginning to creep back into my life, even though at this point the word God was still banned from my consciousness, preferring instead to use terms like spirit, energy, forgive me for this one, the force. Sorry about that. Or my favorite, the absolute. But nonetheless, he, she, it was back, not because he, she, it was forced down my throat, but because he, she, it was presented in a way I could understand and accept. Short sidebar. After writing and reading a sentence like that, you have to wonder what God's pronouns really are. But that's for another sermon. A few years after reading Ramacharaka's book, I discovered a 13th book. It was called Mystic Christianity, or the Inner Teachings of the Master. It was a biography and an explanation of the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth from a yogi philosophy perspective. The book dealt in a satisfying manner with the virgin birth, the youth of Jesus, the temptation by the devil during his fast in the desert, the meaning of his teachings, the meaning of the resurrection, and the continuation of Christ's work after the death of Jesus' body. Ramacharaka's interpretations were far different than those offered by the Baltimore Catechism. Yeah. Well, how many Catholics do we have here? Ex-Catholic. Oh my gosh. I'm talking to the choir. Ramacharaka's interpretations were far different than those offered by the Catechism, but respectful of what I perceived to be the core of Christianity. Then in the middle of the 1980s, I heard about a woman psychologist who claimed to have written a book that was dictated to her by Jesus. Skeptical but intrigued, I bought a copy of A Course in Miracles. This was not a book that could be devoured. This was a book that had to be read slowly, stopping often to contemplate the meaning. And I thought I was well educated in these kinds of spiritual matters. There's a reason why it is called A Course in Miracles. This was the first one I bought. It's been rained on, chewed on by a dog, and is being held together with clear plastic sealing tape, package sealing tape. It has untold underlinings, you can probably see some of those, highlights, post-it notes, and paper clips. This is the newer version. This is a soft copy. This is the hard copy. If you're going to buy one, buy the hard copy. It lasts longer. All right. Let's see. With your indulgence, I would like to pause here and ask the congregation a few questions. How many of you have ever heard of A Course in Miracles? Raise your hand if you've heard of it. Ah, fair number. Raise your hand if you have actually owned a copy of it. One? Okay, we don't need to ask any more questions. I had about 5 questions, but we didn't get all the way through. All right. Thank you for participating. This book is my theology, so I'm going to spend a little time on it. The year is 1965. Well, maybe I don't need to go through a lot of this, because you know how it came to be? Through Helen Schucman. Okay, I'll go through it. 2 PhDs in psychology, Dr. Helen Schucman and Dr. William Tedford, worked together as tenured professors of medical psychology at Columbia University's College of Physicians and Surgeons in New York City. Helen and Bill did not get along. It was therefore a rather startling event when in the spring of 1965, Bill delivered an impassioned speech to Helen in which he said that he was fed up with the competition, aggression, and anger which permeated their professional relationship. He told Helen that there must be a better way, and that he was determined to find it. Equally startling, Helen agreed with him and enthusiastically offered to help him find this other way. This agreement triggered in Helen a series of odd experiences through the summer of 1965. These included very odd dreams with surreal imagery, psychic episodes, visions, and the hearing of what she called an inner voice. These experiences also became increasingly religious, with Jesus appearing to Helen and actually talking to her. It should be noted here that Helen's religious heritage was Judaism, but neither Helen nor her parents were practicing Jews, and in fact, Helen described herself as an atheist. These experiences culminated on the evening of October 21, 1965, when the now familiar voice of Jesus said to Helen, "This is A Course in Miracles. Please take notes." Helen called Bill. He suggested she write down what the voice was dictating and bring it into the office in the morning. The material was indeed unusual, but it was also interesting. It was like the first page of a good novel. They were curious and wanted to know what was going to happen next. So they decided that if the voice continued to dictate, Helen would continue to scribe. So almost every day for about 7 years, Helen would take down in shorthand what the voice dictated, take it to work in the morning, and read it to Bill, who typed it out on a typewriter. Sidebar. Do I need to explain to anybody what a typewriter is? All right? No? Before computers. When the manuscript was completed, I had one. IBM Correcting Selectric typewriter. It was beautiful. But if you made a mistake, you had to type the whole page over again. When the manuscript was completed in 1972, it was well over 1,000 pages long. But Helen and Bill had no idea what to do with it. At the urging of some of their friends, one of whom was a Roman Catholic priest, it was copyrighted and published in 1975. Although unusual, it is not unique for books to come into the world in this manner. If you type the term channeled books into Amazon, you get 900 results. There are some well-known examples of channeled books. These include the Quran. Many of the Old Testament writers claim to talk directly to God. Edgar Cayce channeled the Source. Esther Hicks channeling Abraham. Jane Roberts channeling Seth. And probably the most famous, Neil Donald Walsh and his Conversations with God books. In fact, there's an interesting connection between Conversations with God books and A Course in Miracles. You can find the following exchange between God and Neil on page 90 of Conversations with God, Book 1. All attack is a call for help. That's God. God, all attack is a call for help. Neil, I read that in A Course in Miracles. God, I know, I put it there. I'll let you take that, whatever you want out of that. A Course in Miracles is a complete self-study spiritual thought system. The introduction is short. This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposites. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. The Course says that we are trapped in an illusion. You cannot escape, this is a quote from the Course, you cannot escape without help, because anything your senses show merely witness to the reality of the dream. God has provided the answer, the true helper. It is the function of the Holy Spirit to mediate between the two worlds. He can do this because while he knows the truth, he also recognizes our illusions, but without believing in them. The Holy Spirit's function is to teach us how to reverse our thinking and unlearn our mistakes. And that is done through forgiveness. I'm going to skip that area there. The main way the Holy Spirit helps us to wake up from the dream is to assist us in transforming our relationships we have with others. Quote, the special relationships of the world are destructive, selfish, and childlessly egocentric. There are times when, if Jesus, if that's who wrote it, is very blunt. That's a very blunt sentence. Yet, if given to the Holy Spirit, these relationships can become the holiest things on earth. The miracles that point the way to the return to heaven. The world uses its special relationships as a weapon of exclusion and a demonstration of separateness. The Holy Spirit transforms them into perfect lessons in forgiveness. Each one is an opportunity to let perceptions be healed and errors corrected. Each one is another chance to forgive oneself by forgiving the other. As you can see, forgiveness is featured prominently throughout a course. In fact, a course defines forgiveness as a miracle. A course speaks directly about what forgiveness is and why it is needed. In this world, forgiveness is a necessary correction for all the mistakes that we have made. To offer forgiveness is the only way for us to have it, for it reflects the law of heaven. That the law of heaven is that giving and receiving are the same. A Course in Miracles is great, but there is something that it is not. It is not a church, it's not a congregation, and it's not a community. Yes, there are study groups all over the place. Wherever I moved, I found a study group, usually no more than 6 people. But that's not a church, or a congregation, or a community. So I talked to my then wife, who also grew up Catholic, and said, we need to find a church. And she agreed. We were living in Johnson City, Tennessee, and found a small church in the woods called Unitarian Universalist Church of Holston Valley. We weren't looking for a Unitarian church. We were just looking for a church that wasn't Catholic. And that's the one we stumbled into. We found ex-Catholics, Hindus, Buddhists, Jews, and even one atheist. We liked these people and got involved. I was on the board of directors. No, I'm not going to do that again. And my wife was on the Sunday program committee. After a few years, work took us elsewhere, but wherever we ended up, we looked for a UU church. I'll just rattle off the cities. Atlanta, Dallas, Salisbury, North Carolina, Joliet, Illinois, and 2 of them here, UUCFM and All Faiths. But why UU congregations? What makes us different? Well, being an excellent researcher, I turned to Wikipedia. The first thing I came across was Universalism Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religion characterized by a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Yeah, you got that right. Other religions have a doctrine. If you don't believe in the doctrine, you don't belong there. Well, that leaves me out of most other religions. With regard to UU scripture, Wiki says, I love this, all sources admissible, none required. I love that. The conciseness of that is brilliant. I love the 7 principles. I love the 6 sources. I love our approach to all sacred writings. I even love the symbol of the lighted chalice. Where is it? I love that. But that's not why I'm here. I can love all those things at home, alone. But as you can see, I am not at home, alone. I am here with you. And not only am I here, I'm doing something scary. I'm giving a sermon. So why did I volunteer to do something scary? Because I know that you and me, because I know you want me to do well. You want me to do well because I am part of our faith community. That's why I am here. There's one word that sums it up nicely, the word love. But I'm not sure how to define love in this context, so I Googled it and found something that fits nicely. This is a quote from a book called True Love by Robert Fulghum. If that name sounds familiar, you might be remembering a book he wrote called All I Really Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Remember that one? Nice book. Here's the quote from the book. Here's a quote from the book True Love. We're all a little weird, and life is a little weird. And when we find someone whose weirdness is compatible with ours, we join up with them and fall into mutually satisfying weirdness, which we call love. End quote. Don't you? I love that. In my senior year in high school, a young woman came up to me in homeroom and said, "Ray, you're weird." Nice, but weird. Since then, I've been embracing my weirdness. It may be somewhat politically incorrect to say that you viewers are weird, but in my opinion, it will turn out okay if that weirdness is of the mutually satisfying kind. I think it is, and that's why I am here. And for all of you who might be wondering, the answer is yes. I have forgiven the Catholic school nuns. They had no idea what dyslexia was. And even if they did know what dyslexia was, there was nothing they could have done about it. They were doing what they thought was best for me. There is a wonderful quote from A Course in Miracles on page 46 of the workbook. Quote, God does not forgive. Forgiveness is the correction for condemnation, and God has never condemned. End quote. I, on the other hand, have condemned. I therefore offer my forgiveness to those nuns, and because I have done that, I can just let it be. That concludes my talk. However, I've been asked to make a clarification. Upon my request, we are going to sing Paul McCartney's song, Let It Be, as the offertory music. There was some concern regarding one of the lyrics. Quote, when I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. End quote. At the time Paul wrote that song, he was having great difficulty with the breakup of the Beatles, as he explains in multiple interviews, and this is a quote from him. I had the most wonderful dream about my mother who died when I was only 14. She was a very comforting presence in my life. As the years went by, I couldn't recall her face so easily. So in this dream, my mother appeared, and there was her face, completely clear, and she said to me, very gently, very reassuringly, let it be. His mother's name was Mary. But if you want to think of Mother Mary as the Blessed Virgin Mary, be our guest. No one here will seek to excommunicate you for doing that. Our former minister, CJ, started a tradition in telling a joke before we take the offertory. because happy people are more generous. Here's what I came up with. How many Unitarian Universalists does it take to change a light bulb? No, that's a good one. I like that one. Anybody else? Okay. That's a good one. Let me know when you want me to say what I have. All right. Well, actually, it's an undetermined number. We choose not to make any statement either in favor of or against the need for a light bulb. However, if on your journey you have found that light bulbs work for you, congratulations. We wholly support you doing your exploration of light bulb traditions, including incandescent, fluorescent, LED, mercury, halogen, sodium, tinted, and three-way, whatever that is, all of which are equally valid paths to illumination. Thank you. We will now take this morning's offertory. We have it on good authority that if you make a large enough donation, you will become enlightened. Thank you. Thanks.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when my broken-hearted people that live in the world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. For though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Yes, there will be an answer, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the night is cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me, shines on till tomorrow, let it be. I wake up to the sound of music, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be, yeah, let it be, let it be, let it be, yeah, let it be. There will be an answer, let it be.
Thank you, Carlos. Let it be. I love that song because to me, faith involves trust. And that's kind of a song about trust. So let it be and let there be love. Our closing words today are by Henry David Thoreau. They're very brief. The words which express our faith and piety are not definite, yet they are significant and fragrant like frankincense to superior natures. And now, turn, 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 turn.
Please sing along. The words are in page 2. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time for love, a time for hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rend, a time to sow, a time to love, a time to hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. Thank you all.
I love that. Ah. I'm a lover of Rumi, the Islamic Sufi, and of course the Sufis always do the turning, the swirling dervishes, and I do have a dream for all faiths, and that I would like to see more than about 3 or 4 people moving a little to the music. This is one of the things I love about the Southern Baptist churches. They got the spirit. They move, they feel it, and you know, religion isn't just in the head. It's a holistic thing. It's all part of who we are and holistic. So if you feel like moving a little, twisting your head just a bit, it's allowed even for intellectual Unitarian Universalists. So today, I really thank Ray Ellis for your wonderful message. We appreciate it very much. I don't know about you, but I believe in miracles. And one of the greatest miracles of my life is all faiths. This is a miraculous family that has been here. We've been here for each other through times of joy and times of sorrow and times of struggle and times of celebration. And to me, this organization is a miracle. As CJ often said, we don't have to think alike to love alike. And I like that because, you know, you relish the diversity. It's like this beautiful bouquet. Joyce brings bouquets every week for us, and who wants to be all just one flower? Isn't that beautiful? So we can have the diversity of many thoughts here, and thank you very much for your sermon. It was beautiful today. And Carlos, the music, as always, it's such a joy. Many people say they come for the music, and I can understand that. And we appreciate Sharon Gray on camera, and Ed Elrod on sound, and Joe Gayton, who greets us warmly and takes care of our facility here, and Joyce for the beautiful flowers, and all of our greeters. So it's so good to get together, and do reach out to those who aren't here and remind them that you do love them and do care for them, and people are gathering together again, and invite them back to our services. So now, as Nicole comes forward to extinguish the chalice, please join in reciting the words in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world. Go now in peace. And now we invite you to refreshments and treats in the room. And remember, go to the bulletin board. Linda Bigelow is waving her hands back there. She's here. She's got her Gators hat on. And my condolences to you for the Gators game yesterday. All right, so join us, and please sign up for those there are 4 different times. Sign up on the bulletin board for the life parties.